You know, I never introduced my videos in a way that newer viewers would understand what's going on. To them, I'm just a disembodied voice that starts every video with a joke that only I'd get, and hell, I don't even refer to myself as lowercase number. They're probably confused as to why I only talk about older games that most people have forgotten about. Like today's video, Batman: Dark Tomorrow. Was that intro just an elaborate way to introduce this game? Why yes it was. Unlike many of the games featured on this series, it seemed like a lot of love and effort went into making this a great game and as faithful to Batman as possible, but was extensively gutted to make an earlier than necessary release date. I'm not too sure the game would have turned out the best even without the rushed release, as a return offender developed this. Kemco, the same developers that ported Daikatana to the Nintendo 64. Batman Dark Tomorrow is meant to be one of the worst games ever. Well, more so than most of the games I look at on here. So, will this topple the current shittiest game? Find out later in the video because I'm not telling you here. I've got to increase my audience engagement on YouTube somehow. The opening cutscene is dripping with atmosphere and beautifully animated, which holds true for every cinematic in game, and I could see how easily this could fool people into thinking there was any value to this. I'll talk about the story later in this video. My problem with the opening cinematic is it shows that Batman's parents were killed, one of the most well-known facts about Batman, yet the game acts as fan service, not an introduction to the universe. Many characters show up during the game with the assumption players know who they are, but Kemco thought adding the most starter pack-esque information would be fine in a game that features Ratcatcher. This obscure character would only be known by the most hardcore of comic book readers, and even they've forgotten about him. The game mainly functions as a third-person beat-em-up and features many of Batman's gadgets, which really makes you feel like you're playing a Batman video game. The game throws you into the deep end since it doesn't give you a tutorial or any way of knowing what the controls are. Even the hints it displays never tells you what buttons accomplish what it's hinting. So, for the early parts of the game you'll be mashing buttons randomly just to see their function. The two bars that are displayed on the screen are a health bar, no brainer there, and beneath it is a cape strength indicator which helps reduce damage from enemies. The cape concept confuses me since it's draped over Batman's back and all anyone has to do is attack Batman's front to render the point of a damage reducing cape null and void. The combat itself is bare bones and a slog to play due to how unfair it is. Your only methods of attack are punches, kicks and the useless gadgets you possess, with little combo attacks to pull off and no block to save you from being knocked on your ass, which occurs frequently. Enemies can block though. So you programmed that for all enemies, Kemco, but you didn't think Batman needed the simple ability to move his hands above his head because, what, he had all his equipment? After you down enemies you need to lock them up with bat cuffs, after which Batman locks them up with the bat key and the bat jowl. This is because the attacks Batman lands aren't hard enough to knock enemies out long enough for you to leave the room, and I'm assuming that Batman is too afraid of killing someone if he lands a strong enough punch. Every time you need to watch an overly long animation of Batman cuffing a villain. Despite the joke I made before, enemies aren't sent to jail. Rather, they're just left cuffed on the floor where they could easily pick the lock and escape. Sorry. The in-game information states that the bat cuffs are only able to be broken and removed with a diamond edge cutting tool. That's even worse than if they were normal cuffs, because either these people are going to be waiting a long time to get the cuffs off, or, after saving the world, Batman needs to round up everyone and remove them. However, that just shows that Batman is the billionaire Bruce Wayne, who's just got a diamond edge cutting tool lying around. Instead of having a third-person camera, fixed camera angles are your only means of seeing anything, even if they never seem to be positioned toward anything important, and this drove me batty. Please laugh, I took so long trying to incorporate that pun. Most of the time enemies or hazards are completely off screen as you run into them and they fuck you up. Walking in a straight line through a room, one of the most simple acts to do in a video game, is made a frustrating task due to the multiple camera angle changes per square meter radius. However, it's a hilarious sight when the camera changes follow behind Batman as he walks and it seems as if the game is lagging and stuttering because of it. Every camera switch is disorientating, and each time this happens, the direction of the controls change to whichever way the camera is angled, leading to Batman frequently backtracking to an area he had just been in. I think it's piss poor game design if I need to hold down right on the control stick to go up a ladder simply because the camera is angled retardedly. You can choose different loadouts for Batman each time you die, with each one switching up how many smoke capsules and batarangs you have, and how much health you get back from the medical kit. In theory, this could have been a cool concept as you change your gear deployment based on the area you're in, but they're terribly unbalanced and you only use one the whole way through. The smoke capsules are useless as it's already hard enough to see anything without a cloud of smoke covering half the screen. The batarangs aren't as useless as using them takes you into a first person mode and you're able to see what's in front of you. While they may down enemies in one hit, they usually visually alert the rest of the enemies to your presence, and remember, while they currently are knocked out, you need to rush out and back cuff them. The medical kit does what you'd think and replenishes health, but having it equipped when your health completely depletes automatically regenerates your health. The loadout you will always take is the one with the medical kit that gives more health because it makes this unfair game laughably easy, and it seems the developers realised that as down on the D-pad automatically assigns it. Every new area you reach, the game auto-saves for you, and if by random chance this unbalanced game fucks with you and leaves you dead, you respawn in that new area with all your equipment replenished. The game becomes a breeze as you throw yourself headlong at enemies without fear as you keep getting up despite being shot and kicked down, as the sweet juices of the medkit drip through your veins as, did I mention this game as stealth? It's fairly useless when compared to the exploitable method I mentioned before, but hey, it's in the game if you want to torture yourself. To successfully not be detected by enemies, you need to enter a crouch that's so slow, a paraplegic dragging themselves over shards of broken glass would be able to go at a faster pace than Batman. In fact, there are two types of crouch, with the only difference being one is slightly faster and becomes a hindrance as you need to cycle through them each time you want to be stealthy, but who'd do that? Well, me, but I only use the crouching for the sweeping attack you can perform. I'm not going to use that slow ass thing for stealth. A radar that is in your possession shows how alert enemies are to your presence, displaying cones of vision to better help you during stealth. The problem is, the default radar is transparent enough so that the background of a level can mask seeing the revealed adversaries. This can be changed in the settings so the radar is less translucent, but this, like many other things, isn't told to you, like conservative parents trying to hide their babies from the harsh realities of life. You can knock enemies out in one hit when stealthily doing so, but it's even difficult to pull off on stationary enemies as most times they turn around before you so much as tiptoe a punch to the back of the head. Let's talk about the rest of the gadgets in the game. You ready? Well, I am. Let's start. The back grapple allows Batman to ascend on the spot and jump off, and the back cable allows Batman to swing across gaps. Both have annoyingly long animations that play every time you use them, and if you don't have enough momentum when swinging with the back cable, the game indicates you can swing in place. However, this is about as responsive as a paraplegic if you punch them in the leg. While both gadgets indicate you can use A or B to jump off, pressing A will send Batman into another animation where he jumps off, whereas B simply disconnects you and usually sends you plummeting to your death. The finger light and night vision gadgets essentially serve the same purpose, which is to light up dark areas, except the game never gets dark enough to warrant their use. You could always turn the game's brightness down if you wanted to give the finger light a purpose, because night vision at least lets you see lasers and allows walking around in first person. However, these first person controls are more slippery than a paraplegic flung from their wheelchair down a lubricated ramp. Fuck. I guess paraplegics are the running joke of this episode. Should have worded that differently, but I'm out of comparison, so we're moving on. The final gadget is the universal tool that allows you to access computer panels and unlock certain doors. That's right, despite what the name implies, it's not a be-all end-all door opening gadget, and you still need to find and use keys found within levels. It's really a gadget you use on doors when you're completely lost and have no idea what to do next. Boss fights are a repetitive affair, as the same strategy of punch them, knock them down, and run away before they sweep you can be applied to every boss. My biggest gripe with these fights is every time you knock over the boss, or alternatively they knock you over, control is wrestled from you and an animation is shown. Whenever you get knocked down, the boss gets in an insult to waste your time further. Between constantly being knocked down and having to suffer through overly long animations, do you ever get to play this game? Not that I'm complaining, I just thought including this criticism may have been justified if the game was any good. Notes are littered around the levels that detail information relating to that current area, which may as well have been the complaint letters Kemco received after releasing Dark Katana because they offer little help. Although, those letters may have been useful as they probably told Kemco how to properly make a game, a trait they progressively got worse at based off this game's quality. The biggest difference between the Xbox and GameCube version of the game is that you can find concept art and music as collectibles in the GameCube version. The problem with collecting them is the game always displays how many you've obtained, so you have even less visibility if you are unfortunate enough to accidentally collect one. I love the loading screens between new areas because Batman is staring straight at the screen like he's desperately checking that you're still playing this atrocious game. Yes, Batman, I am still playing this. I've got a video to make, otherwise your sorry ass wouldn't be seeing me after the first level. Now let's move on to the story, seeing that I've talked about the gameplay as much as I could. I didn't do it this way because it made sense structurally, it's because gameplay comes before story alphabetically, and my crippling OCD won't have it any other way. After the opening cutscene that depicts shadowy villains talking vaguely, the game starts with Batman stopping a mugging before he traverses from rooftop to rooftop to respond to the bat signal. Waiting next to the bat signal's projector is Commissioner Gordon, who asks Batman to stop a gang war between Black Mask and Scarface.
This ends now. Batman! Where did you get the weapons? You don't scare me, Bats. You don't scare me.
While the voice acting is alright for the most part, the delivery from most villains is cheesy, and I'm lactose intolerant when it comes to cheesy dialogue. It's stated that the Black Mask and Scarface gangs were supplied with advanced weaponry, but the enemies I versed only had AK-47s and Tommy guns. How far behind is Gotham with its weapons? Were the gangs using flintlock pistols before this? After defeating both gangs, Batman discovers Commissioner Gordon is missing and heads to his apartment after finding out Arkham Asylum has been overrun.
Oracle, I finished searching your father's office.
Did you find anything?
A deck of cards with no jokers.
Oh, it's the Riddler. After finding the Joker has kidnapped the Commissioner and is holding him captive in the asylum, Batman heads through the sewers as the streets surrounding the asylum are crawling with inmates. The sewers in the asylum feature many villains that show up in one cutscene, get defeated as a boss fight, and are left tied up never to be mentioned again. The asylum interior features all shades of grey and makes for a very boring area. The game is elongated because many of the objectives in the asylum are to get keys to progress to the Commissioner, and all these problems would have been averted had the Universal Tour done what its name implied.
I will not allow you to roam through my asylum unsupervised. Well, you won't get anywhere without this. If you think for 1 second that I'm going to give you this access card, then you really...
I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. Give me the card.
Not a chance.
Batman then proceeds to beat the ever-living shit out of him and steals his wallet too. After reaching the Joker, it is revealed that the person to set this whole plan in action was Ra's al Ghul? I just looked it up and there's 2 ways to pronounce this fucker's name, and Batman fans get pissy no matter what way you say it. I wanted to make videos on shitty games, not get dragged in comments, but if you do drag me in the comments, make sure it's on someone else's channel. I need the attention, that's all. But I already see how I'm going to be dragged. Oh, they say his name in game, how are you so confused on how it's said? Look, it was a joke to artificially lengthen this video. Anyway, Ra's al Ghul's plan was to distract Batman while he tinkered on his master plan until it was accomplished. His master plan is to detonate bombs around the world to melt the ice caps, flooding coastal cities and killing 1/3 of the population, leaving the world reborn in Ra's image. Mind you, Ra's is situated all the way in the Himalayas, so all he did was alert Batman to stop his plan. The one thing he never wanted. Also, how easy is Arkham Asylum to take over if the Joker can do it at the drop of a hat when Ra's asked? Might want to look into getting better security there. Batman travels to the Himalayas in his Batwing, but ditches it to use the Bat Glider to reach Ra's lair. The Bat Glider section is the worst controlling, most frustrating part of the game, so the less said about it, the better. The Bat Glider crashes into the hideout after Batman lets go of it, alerting them to his presence. I'm surprised Batman is the world's greatest detective if he couldn't figure out the villain wouldn't know he's arrived when a bat-shaped vehicle just randomly arrives on his doorstep. The daughter of Ra's, Talia, has a crush on Batman and helps him out by shutting off the camera system for him. Turns out she just wants Batman to fill her up with bat semen and get a child for the new world. Batman says fuck no to that offer, as he's not willing to pay her child support, and while Batman doesn't have any reason to like her, I can see 2 reasons to. Talia was willing to give up the goods to Batman because Ra's is offering Batman to be his heir, but Batman declines this offer by fighting him. There are 4 endings to this game, and the one good ending is accomplished by defeating Ra's and disabling the homing signal. Oh, I didn't mention that you had to disable the homing signal? Well, the game never mentions that as an objective. Good luck with achieving the best ending without an online guide. I'm sure the question on everyone's mind when this came out was, could it have been a better product if it wasn't rushed? But that question gets raised every time a crappy rushed product is released. Besides the stunningly animated cutscenes and the attempts at making this as true to the Batman franchise as possible, nothing much works in this game. In combat, Batman is fairly limited in what he can do, and he'll be knocked down so many times that it'll make you say, fuck you Batman, you dark. Fuck you Batman, you black. There's not too many insults you can call Batman in today's social climate. The gadgets Batman brought were mostly useless, and the ones that did work were unwieldy to use effectively. The stealth was a system that was never used due to how slow Batman moved, and never being able to see anyone with a terrible camera, which was one of the worst I've ever encountered. Despite its many flaws, Batman Dark Tomorrow places here on the list, simply due to the game not being as broken as the games higher up on this list. You know what would be a Dark Tomorrow? If I lost my eyesight when I slept tonight. Oh, ha ha, I crack myself up, I do. Anyway, I'm off to write the plot for a Batman film where Ratcatcher is the main villain. Trust me, it won't be a flop.
Mr. Scarface.
I sees it. What are you gonna do with that, huh? You overgrown rat dressed like a... Oh, you think this is gonna stop me, you git gully? This ain't even gonna slow me down, Gatman. Way I can see Get It from up here, and I can think Get It. I don't think anything me.